So today I want to start my talk by talking about my favorite subject, food. So I'm a self-proclaimed foodie. I really am. I love food. I love to talk about food. I love to go experience food. I like to find good restaurants, and I just love food. So one time my daughter was at the pediatrician. I'm going to guess she was about, I don't know, 3, I'm guessing 3, maybe 4. She was really young. And her pediatrician, Dr. Sutherland, said, "Kelsey, what's your favorite food?" And she piped up big and strong and said, "Tuna casserole." He laughed. He said he was expecting like a standard answer, like, like chicken finger or pizza or French fries. But no, not my quirky daughter. She likes tuna casserole. So we all have a favorite food, right? We all have a favorite food. Okay, so pick someone in the audience and tell each other, what's your favorite food? Go. What's your favorite food? So here's my question. Did anybody have the same answer as your neighbor?
Yep.
Okay, so you have to make a date to go have that food with your neighbor. Chocolate, okay. So let's have a chocolate fest, okay.
Oh, you watermelon.
Yeah, if you're going to go on a chocolate date, can I please go? So this topic leads me to talk about the golden rule. Okay, so just be patient. I have a point, I promise. So everybody knows the golden rule. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. The other evening in class, we actually explored all of the ways that the different religions of the world express the golden rule, and I want to share a few of them with you. So in the Baha'i faith, Baha'u'llah says, "Lay not on any soul a load that you would not wish to be laid upon you, and desire not for anyone the things you would not desire for yourself." Baha'u'llah. In Buddhism, the Buddha said this: "Treat not others in ways that you yourself would find hurtful." Confucius says, and Confucianism says, "One word which sums up the basis of all good conduct is loving kindness. Do not do to others what you do not want done to yourself." In the Mahabharata, in Hinduism, it says, "This is the sum of duty. Do not do to others what would cause pain if done to you." The Prophet Muhammad in Islam said, "Not one of you truly believes until you wish for others what you wish for yourself." And Lao Tzu in Taoism says this: "Regard your neighbor's gain as your own gain, and your neighbor's loss as your own loss." And where I was doing all of this reading, there were several other examples, but I just kind of wanted to cover the prominent ones for you, because the point is that everyone in the world pretty much is universally taught that we should treat others the way we wish to be treated. And our overall theme for the month in Centers for Spiritual Living is cherishing all of humanity, or cherishing the human family. And the golden rule is really a great place to kind of leave that theme for the month, because in the sense of oneness, what we do for one, we do for all. What we wish for others, we wish for ourselves. And quite frankly, what we wish for ourselves, we are actually wishing for everyone else. So when we recognize in the sense of oneness that God is all there is, then we must understand that all of humanity is divine as well. If it is our truth, it must by law be the truth for everyone and everything. So true peace, that deep inner peace, comes from accepting ourselves, but also by accepting everyone else as a part of the one. And for most of us, that is our growing edge. That's where we grow. There is truly only one of us. We sing that song every now and then. There is only one of us. In your eyes, it's me, I see. It's not just a song. It's really, really true. Quantum physics will tell you that at the subatomic level, there is no separation between you and the chair you're sitting on. There's no separation between you and the chair and the person sitting in the next chair. You can't tell where anything begins and something ends at that level. It's kind of like the pixels of a video game. it's all vibrating at a different speed to form the things that we see, but it's all one. It's all one energy field. Everything is just energy vibrating at different speeds to create the appearance of separateness, but the truth is there is no separateness at the deepest levels. You are quite literally everything and everyone. Nothing exists outside of this field of energy. And you can choose to see life that way or not, but when you grasp that you are in fact one with everything, you see everything as an extension of yourself. Harold Palmer says it this way: when you adopt the viewpoint that there is nothing that exists that is not a part of you, that there is no one who exists who is not a part of you, that any judgment you make is self-judgment, that any criticism you level is self-criticism, you will extend to yourself an unconditional love that will be the light of the world. Wow. You know, this is pretty basic spiritual teaching, but I think it's always very helpful to remind us, to remind myself. But let's get back to the food. Okay, so if I took my daughter fishing and told her to bring food for the fish, if she was following the golden rule, she would bring the fish tuna casserole. That's a little bit weird. Eating the fish, tuna, okay, that's just not probably the best thing. But do unto others as you would have them do unto you would mean that she would want to feed the fish what she would want to be fed. So if you were inviting your neighbor that you just talked to over for some food, wouldn't you want to try to give them what they wanted, what they just told you that they wanted? Wouldn't you be interested in trying to meet their need with their favorite food? So that's where the platinum rule comes into play. The platinum rule. You ever heard of the platinum rule? Yeah, I hadn't either. Platinum rule. Okay, so if the golden rule is simplified to treat others the way you wish to be treated, the platinum rule is treat others the way they wish to be treated. The platinum rule takes the golden rule to kind of a whole new level of loving. The platinum rule takes into account other people's feelings and ideas and thoughts and beliefs and cultures and preferences. It shifts the focus of relationships from this is what I want, so I will give it to you or do it for you, to let me first understand what they want, and then I will give them or do that. It takes the golden rule to a completely different level. Several months ago, I was staying at an Airbnb. I don't know if you've ever used that company instead of a hotel, but it's kind of cool. And this particular Airbnb had an amazing host. And a few days before I was supposed to arrive, the host reached out and sent a message to me and said, what kind of snacks and wine would you like at the Airbnb? And there, when I arrived on the counter, there were peanut M&Ms and Riesling, just like I liked. I had never, ever felt more seen and heard by an individual host than I had in that moment. That host just kind of went the extra mile, and I wish the Airbnb would make that the rule for all the hosts. But in that situation, I could have said, you know what, I'm in recovery. I don't want wine. Could you just give me 7-Up instead? Or if it were today, I might say I'm not eating much processed sugar. Could you just, maybe some fruit would be nice, right? But the point is, the host was operating under a way more sensitive guideline than the golden rule. Because if he had been in the golden rule, then who knows what I would have gotten when I got there. He was willing to meet me where I was and treat me the way I wanted to be treated in that moment. And it's kind of a frivolous example of the platinum rule, but I'm sure that you've all had experiences with companies that have kind of gone out of their way to figure out what you want, to accommodate your feelings, your ideas, your thoughts, your beliefs, and cultures. That just demonstrates a sensitivity to another's perspective. For you see, unity does not mean uniformity. This is how Holmes said it. While we have one common source, divine wisdom has seen fit to make each an individual. Unity does not mean uniformity. There is unity at the center with infinite variation at the circumference. So when you think about like a bicycle tire, it's all one tire. And at the center, each of those spokes is having the same origin. But each of those spokes is having a completely different experience on the road, the point of each spoke, than any other. They're all going in the same direction, but they're having a completely different experience. This point might hit the mud puddle and this point might hit a rock, but it's different, but it's all the same still. So I think that's a very interesting perspective that Holmes says. Because if we're to truly cherish the human family, we must honor and celebrate all aspects of it. You know, rather than try to bypass it with just some sort of spiritual platitude about oneness, we have to really see each other as ourselves, because that's the truth. But we can't turn our blind eye to the expression of diversity either. We're all one, but we are all unique and individualized. Think about how many cultures you come into contact with on any given day. Just think about that for a second. There are cultures of ethnicity. There are career and work cultures. There are gender identity cultures. There are ability cultures and geographic cultures and sexual orientation cultures and religious cultures and organizational cultures and affinity group cultures. And that's just the list I have in front of me. But there are many, many more. And think about it, every one of those cultures has its own language, has its own preferences and customs and world beliefs and rules, and it's a lot, right? It's a lot. I mean, just for me personally, I'm involved in this spiritual community's culture and the wider organization's culture. I'm involved in the culture of ability and disability because of my daughter. I am obviously in the LGBTQ culture, the Southern culture. I'm very Southern, even though I'm not born here, but that's where I live and lived for most of my life. I'm an American, so I have that American culture. I have the culture of white privilege because that just happens to be my ethnic origin, the female culture, the culture of a ministerial life, and that's just a few of my cultures. And I bet your life is just as complicated. And all these cultures blend together to make me uniquely me and you uniquely you. It gives me my frame of reference. It gives me my preferences and my language and the way I express myself, and it gives that to you as well. So how can we live the platinum rule, given all the uniqueness around us? You know, this rule is more compassionate and inclusive than the golden rule, but it takes more effort and time, doesn't it? It really does. The platinum rule requires us to be open in relating to others. It requires us to be genuinely interested in others and strive to make meaningful connections, not based solely on our own desires, on our own perspective, but to lean into the desires of that other person, to shift our broader understanding of oneness. It takes practice to see diversity and oneness with the same eye, at the same time, and honor both of them. This is an ideal, but it's worth striving for, isn't it? Because we're all in relationships, and that would help, this idea would help us so much. And when we're in work groups, or for goodness sakes, if we have influence on an international level, if we could be operating from that sense of compassion and openness, it would be amazing. So as I was preparing for this talk, I was going through the world looking for examples of the platinum rule being taken into account and considering it. And one example I saw, I'm flying to Denver this afternoon. If I look cold in advance, it's because I am. I was telling telling some people that it's going to be like the high of like 28 today there. And one night the low is 8, so just pray for me, that's all I can say. So the last time I traveled, when I went to Denver, I went to California first, and I was in 5 different airports. This is the long story short, 5 different airports. And one of the things that I noticed in these airports, the first time, I've never noticed it before, but there were these, in 4 of the airports, in the midst of all the hustle and bustle of the terminals, there was this little pod thing that I had never noticed before. And I'm like, what is that? What is it? And it was for nursing mothers. I had never seen that before. I know it can be argued that nursing is natural and should be done wherever anybody wants to do it, but I appreciated the sensitivity of the airport decision maker, planners, or whatever, to create and provide a private space for this very intimate experience that mothers have. Someone in the decision-making group asked the question, what would nursing mothers want? What would they want? How would they like to be treated in this situation? The platinum rule on display in the terminal. I loved it. In my former company, I happened to be at the decision-making table when we decided to designate a prayer room in every location for people of Muslim faith, so that they had a place to go pray during the 5 times a day that they prayed, if they happened to be in our building during one of those 5 times. And I can tell you the platinum rule came into play because there was no one from that faith at the table that day. But it was a right decision to make. And companies all over the world right now are using the platinum rule in regards to gender fluidity and identity in restrooms, right? When we took this building, you may or may not know, our bathroom doors were designated male and female. But we asked ourselves, how would a gender diverse person or a gender fluid person want to be treated in our space? And we changed the signs. We changed the signs. Because it's important. It's important to treat others the way they want to be treated. So I challenge you to look around your own life and see evidence of the platinum rule coming into play. But also, listen for language in resistance to it. Watch for it. It sounds something like this. Well, I don't need that, so I don't see why anybody else needs that. I don't need that. Or, well, that was not my experience, so why would anybody else have a different experience than that? And all of us can fall into that sometimes because it takes a lot of effort to make things work for other people. We forget that everyone is immersed in their own conglomeration of cultures. And as an individual, they may have needs and preferences very, very different than our own. Let's take the time to get to know each other. To get to know each other and care about each other's experiences. Especially here. I mean, especially here. Let's do it here. So remember this, whoever crosses your path today is another part of yourself that you need to see or meet this day. Open your heart and listen to understand them. Greet them with love and respect and dignity that Barley talked about, and apply the platinum rule. And remember that not everyone likes tuna casserole. It's